Hey guys, so we're doing the driver's side A-arm on the 3000 GT. Both sides are symmetrical, so they're the same. I'm going to show you how to do them. Hey guys, so these are the tools you're going to need for this job. You're going to need your service manual, some type of rust penetrant. I like PB Blaster, WD-40 works, loosey-goosey, liquid wrench. Breaker bar, torque wrench, 19mm open-ended combination wrench, 17 mil. You need two 14mm open-ended wrenches. You need a 3/8 inch drop. Hey guys, my other clip got cut short, so I'm gonna do a voiceover here. Explain the rest of the tools. I've got a 3/8 and a 1/2 inch drive socket wrench, and then I have corresponding wrench ends for each of the open-ended sizes, so 14 mil, 17 mil, and 19mm. I also have a converter for the 1/2 inch drive down to 3/8, and that should be about it. You're also gonna you could benefit from having an extension as well. So let's get going. This is the service manual page. As you can see, step 1 is the stabilizer link mounting nut, also known as the sway bar end link. So you'll be looking at the rotor. You're going to go to the front side. In the back of the front of the rotor, you have the sway bar end link. You want to undo the top connection first, that's this one, and then you want to undo the lower one. You're going to need two open-ended 14mm wrenches, and I'll show you what you need to do in order to loosen it. Alright guys, so as you can see here, you have an inner sort of nut on the threads. You're going to hold that still so that the bolt doesn't spin within the sway link with one wrench. And then you're going to take your other wrench and you're going to turn this counterclockwise and start to loosen it. What will happen when you turn this will rotate until it gets caught on something. You want to make sure it doesn't get caught on anything that it could damage. You don't want to catch it on these threads down here. You want to make sure you catch it on preferably either the drive axle. You can wrap around from the other side like this from behind, and it'll pop up and hit the axle right here like this as you loosen this. That's what I did. That's step 1. Okay guys, this is the second end link. It actually attaches down here on the A-arm in this hole. It's the same exact process, so I'm not going to bother showing you how to loosen it. You can actually get an open-ended wrench on this one. A socket wrench on this one. You can't get a socket wrench on the top. You can use a socket on the bottom, so the bottom's a little bit easier. Make sure you entirely remove the sway bar end link from the A-arm. You don't want it hanging and catching later. So just make sure that's off and out of the way. Then you're going to loosen the bolt on the ball joint, which is, I'll show you where that is. Hey guys, so just to show you what we're tightening, and actually to help with the uninstall video, this is for both parts. The ball joint nut is a 19mm nut. You need to use the open-ended part of a wrench. You can't use the box end, you have to use the open-ended part. You're going behind. Okay, you see that right there? That's the nut we're talking about, that silver nut right there, the shiny one. Okay, for uninstalling, it's really easy. Just get the wrench and start loosening, okay? You don't have a lot of room to work with, but you'll be able to turn it easily. This is a ball joint fork. You have to use this in order to remove the ball joint. There is no other way that I am aware of. They're all built about the same. They're just metal forks, so don't worry about getting a crazy nice one. You can go to AutoZone, pay 30 bucks for one. They all work. You're going to want to go on the car and actually turn the wheel towards whatever side you're working on so you have a little bit more room. I'm not going to bother doing that since I've already loosened the ball joint, but I will show you how to get the fork on there and what you need to do to pop the ball joint. Don't be afraid to use strength here, guys. This is the most violent thing that you will probably do on a car, apart from loosening a crank pulley and this castle nut right here, actually. Hey guys, sorry my face is so bright. So this is the back. This is the back of the rotor. Nothing special. It's just the camera's facing towards the outside of the car. You're going to take your ball joint fork. See down there? It's hard to do it with just the camera. Okay, so it's just gonna wedge. You're not gonna be able to get it all the way in. So you're gonna wedge it in there just like that, all right? And you're gonna come out here. You wanna make sure it's stable, right? Then you take a hammer and you're gonna bang the life out of it, right? And you're gonna bang, 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 bang until you hear it pop. Now remember, I haven't turned my wheel, that's why I'm not hitting it hard. You have to turn this wheel to the right, whatever side you're working on, towards the side you're working on. That will bring this arm more towards the outside, and it'll give you more room to really get a good swing in there. You gotta hit it hard. Once you hit it, you'll know. It'll pop loose, the fork will come right out, and the ball joint will look just like this. See that, how it's popped out? And then the nut, you see, there would be threads there if you hadn't popped it out yet. All right, so we've done the sway bar end link and we've done the ball joint. You're gonna leave the nut on the ball joint, the self-locking nut on the ball joint. You don't want anything falling. That helps the A-arm from falling on you later. Next is probably the most difficult bolt you have to do. Then we have the lower arm mounting nut, which is a long nut, long bolt that goes through right there on the A-arm, the longest bushing. You got to remove the nut and then you got to remove the bolt. Starting from the wheel well again, we have a nut and bolt. So to get to the nut, you have to go to the front of the rotor, in the back, and it's that nut right there that's just out of focus. Hold on. There we go. You see that nut, guys? That's the nut you're going for. It's a 17 millimeter. On the passenger side, you will not be able to get anything but a open-ended wrench on it. Luckily, you can use the fully closed side to get to have a little bit more security, make sure you don't strip it. You will need a breaker bar. You gotta douse it in PB Blaster, WD-40, what have you, liquid wrench, loosey-goosey, whatever your preferred nut buster is. That nut, okay? Now, you can't just turn that nut. You have to, on the other side, get either a 3/8 inch wrench with a 17 millimeter socket, socket wrench, and just put it on there as you turn it. The socket wrench will catch actually on the subframe on this side as you rotate the nut on the other side. That is your first option. If your socket wrench does not fit there for whatever reason, has a big head, or it's a deep socket, or whatever, you cannot get a box wrench on this bolt. You can use a universal joint and an extension, and you can go in from this side right here. If you have a universal joint, it'll bend perfectly. You just leave it right there. Then you go back to the other side. You put your 17 millimeter box wrench on there, and you spin. So this is what it looks like with the wrench on there. My hand is actually just under the car. This is just so you can see the wrench turning itself. As you can see, it's actually, you have plenty of room under here for extra long swing. It's not a problem. It's the other side where you have to put the universal joint or the 17 millimeter socket wrench on. That's going to give you some trouble. If your car is not fully well maintained, my car was a Florida car, so I get lucky with these things, but if it was left in the rain, in the elements a lot, that nut and bolt is going to be difficult. So make sure you have the right tools, make sure you have breaker bars, make sure you have something to wrap around your box end wrench to extend it so you can get more torque, because that's really the most difficult part of this process. Next up, we have the A-arm mounting clamp with the 4 fasteners. This is actually the easiest part of the job. Then you have the clamp, which has 4 total fasteners, 2 nuts, and 2 bolts. Once you've gotten everything out, the A-arm just pops out. You might have to wiggle it a bit, but yeah. Okay guys, this is actually the only part of the job that you need to be fully under the car, is when you're uninstalling the A-arm and when you're undoing this clamp with the 4 fasteners. So I'm gonna bring you under the car now. Excuse me while I flip the camera. The wheel well behind the rotor, just so you guys have an idea. There's the tie rod, my teen coilovers. Okay, moving back, not back, towards the middle. Here we go. This is the clamp. Now, this clamp on the other side gave me a load of trouble, not loosening but reinstalling. So when we go back to reinstalling, I will show you my way to make sure you don't strip anything. So as you can see, these two nuts, 1, 2, these are already loosened. These are the first 2 you undo. There's gonna be lock washers under them, behind them. So just be careful when you're loosening it not to lose the washer. I've already taken my washers out, so don't worry about me. Oh, worry about me. I've lost a bolt. By the way, guys, I work on a gravel driveway. Just so you know. Like I said, you're doing these 2 nuts first. This one's already off. These are 14 millimeters. I would recommend 3/8 or a 1/2 inch drive socket wrench with an extension, 14 millimeter bolt. Remember, there's a lock washer behind there. Okay, then once those 2 bolts are off, you're gonna move on to, once those 2 nuts are off, you're gonna move on to the 2 bolts. You wanna do the furthest inside bolt first. This is the small one. This bears the least weight and the least torque. They're both 17 millimeters. So I would actually use a 1/2 inch drive with an extension and a 17 millimeter socket on both of these. Once these 2 are loose, your A-arm will be prepared to come down. You just have to, I'll show you. Once these 2 are loose, you'll be prepared to remove the A-arm. Okay guys, we're gonna go loosen those bolts. 1/2 inch drive, extension, 17 millimeter socket. Innermost bolt first. As you can see, I've already loosened it, so I'm just taking it down. And that's it. Very, very short. Now be careful, this bolt can strip very easily. Last but not least, we have the long A-arm bolt. It's the outermost, and it's the one that's in between the two nuts. When you loosen this, the A-arm will start to come down. So just be aware of that. It will not come all the way down. If you have your ball joint nut in place over here, and you have your long bolt in place over here. As long as those 2 things are in place, the A-arm will not come all the way down. I will show you how it comes down as you loosen. Alright guys, so here it is. 17 mil extension, 1/2 inch drive. It's already loosened. I got the breaker bar on it, so I'm just showing you as you loosen this bolt, the A-arm I thought it was going to come down. It looks like it's not coming down. So you're just going to pull the bolt out all the way. Get this wrench off here. Now this is a long bolt. Remember, these bolts thread into the chassis, guys, so you want to take very good care of them. You don't want to strip those threads. Okay, there we go. That's the long bolt. Hey guys, so the A-arm actually didn't lower when I was removing the bolt, so I just want to show you. This is on the, I think it's 94 and after. This is a clamp with a bushing under it. And any earlier car, the entire, it's actually attached to the A-arm. So for me, it's not attached. You see, just wiggle this clamp off. If it's stuck up there, just give a good tug on the A-arm itself, and that way it'll pop it loose. Once it's down, as you can see, there's the bushing. Here's the A-arm itself. This is the bushing. Here's the A-arm. Alright, so now that this bushing is exposed, the cap is off, ball joint is popped, and the nut is loose, and the bolt over here is loose. Okay, all you have to do is get yourself out from under the car, remove this bolt, and remove this nut for the ball joint right here, and you're done. So I'll show you that right now. Alright guys, so we're going back to the ball joint self-locking nut. I've shown you where it is, but just for good measure, we're going behind the rotor, just above the A-arm, below the axle, right there. Here's the ball joint nut. If it was hand loose before, it won't be hand loose now because you have the weight of the A-arm on it. You have 2 options. Push the A-arm up with your own might. Doesn't take much. That's my preferred option. Your other option is to get the wrench. The reason I prefer to do it this way is you can actually feel the threads. Everything feels healthy. And then, once she's out, she's out. Boom. Alright guys, so this is the A-arm mounting bolt. If you remember, there was a nut on the other side. I leave the nut on, so what I'm doing is I'm just loosening the nut now. What you want to do is actually have the nut just come off with the washer. Hold on a second, sorry. Okay. So you want to pull the nut off with the washer, set that aside. Now, whatever wrench you used to hold the bolt still, that's going to be the same tool that you're going to use to get it out. So if you used a universal joint on the top side, grab that now. If you use the 3/8 inch like me, grab that. And you're just going to wiggle and pull. If it provides more resistance than my beautiful car is right now, I can't even believe this is working. If it provides more resistance than this, you can always get either a box end wrench and push it along like this. You can get a screwdriver. You just want to be careful not to damage the threads. There's no threads here, so you're actually good for a bit. But once it gets out more, then the threads will be in jeopardy, and you want to be careful. So yeah, just keep spinning it and turning it. You'll see that the bolt gets caught. The reason it gets caught is for whatever I don't know the reason it gets caught. It gets caught. That's not a problem. As long as you followed the instructions that I gave you, the clamp will already be loose. You'll be able to move this. See that? No problem. Don't try and get that bolt out when you loosen it. And that's it. A-arm's out. I didn't mean to take it out like that, but that was the last bolt, so no wonder. Okay guys, it's A-arm installation time. So we are using the page 33A-10 from the 94 to 96 user manual. You can find the link below. So we're gonna just do this backwards, except for my solution for the clamp. We're gonna do the clamp separate from the arm, and then slide the arm onto the bushing. So that, as you can see, 12 is doing the lower arm, then step 11 is the clamp. We're gonna do the clamp first. Then we're gonna put the arm into the, where are we putting the arm into? Oh, the mounting location, the second mounting location that is in the ball joint. So step 11, lower arm mounting clamp. Hey guys, so you're going to position yourselves on the back side towards the back of the car, behind the rotor in the wheel well. You're going to come under. This is what you're going to see: rotor, axle. This is where the A-arm was. This is the tie rod. Once you see the boot, you're going to look back. And right there, you're going to see that hole right there. That's for the largest bolt for the mounting clamp. That's where the bushing goes, right there, under. And then that's where the small bolt that is very easy to strip goes, right here. So we're gonna just do the clamp. We're not gonna bother with the A-arm right now. We're gonna get the clamp in, and then we're gonna slide the bushing in, and then we're gonna slide the A-arm into the bushing. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay guys, so here I have the clamp lightly hanging on the bolts. So this is a very important process here. You want to make sure that these bolts are threaded properly before you ever take a wrench to them. So what I do is I just sort of rest the bushing in its place, and with my other hand I hand thread the smaller bolt, the gold bolt, the pointy one, into its hole until it's just, you know, until there's like 2 or 3 threads in there. It probably takes, you know, 2 full turns, right? Then you want to take the long bolt, and the long bolt actually starts the thread long before it ever comes in contact with the clamp. You see, the clamp actually still has play now. I've turned this about 8 full turns already. So you want to raise it up so that this is sitting flush and it has some play. Because the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to hand tighten this gold bolt, and you want to make sure that those threads are seated, because if you strip it like I did on the other side, you're going to have to get a helicoil, and that's just no fun. So make sure this is threaded nice and tight, and sorry, not tight, threaded well, hand tightened, right, before you ever touch it with a wrench. So that's what I'm going to do right here, is just turn this bolt. I can feel the threads in there, you know, I can tell whether or not it's healthy. And you don't want to have the weight of the clamp against the bolt. You want to hold the clamp up and push the bolt in. So that bolt's actually threaded well. I can rely on that. I'm going to turn this a little bit more, and you're going to switch back and forth. And the bushing's going to start to give you some resistance, and that's it. You know, you're going to be ready for a wrench. Before you do that, yeah, well, I'll show you how to do that next. Okay, guys, so we've just finished hand tightening the clamp. Sorry for the shaky video. We've just finished hand tightening the clamp. Before you take a wrench to any of those 2 bolts, we have to install the A-arm. And before we install the A-arm, there's something else we have to do. So I'll show you. Okay, folks, so I have the A-arm under the car. The clamp is installed. All right, so next, right, you slide the arm on. Wrong. You have to do this bolt first. If you don't, you won't have enough clearance, and then you'll say, what's wrong? Why won't my bolt go in? It's because you have to do this first. So this bolt, you want to have it just enough so that it's not poking through, so that it won't interfere with that mount for the A-arm. But you need to have it installed, or else you won't be able to get it into that hole later. Once you have that done, come under here, grab your A-arm. Yep. You have to slide the bolt for this mount in before you put the A-arm in, or else it won't go in. You see right now it's hitting the A-arm. Okay, once you have the A-arm down under the car, you're gonna take the most rearward portion of the A-arm and slide it into its bushing. It's real easy, sorry. It's real easy. I'll show you how to do it now. I'm actually gonna lie on my back. These aren't the lightest A-arms I've ever lifted in the world. And just slide that. It should go in real easy as long as those bolts are only hand tightened. Remember, I told you, don't tighten them with a wrench. Okay, once that's in, all right, the next mount you have to do is towards the front right here. Okay, this is the next mount you have to do. I found that instead of going up, like coming down from under the car, that bushing on towards the rear, the one back there that we just slid the rod into, has a little bit of play. So you can actually bring it towards the front. You can bring this portion towards the front. Can you see that? Bring this portion towards the front and actually work it in from there. So once the A-arm's all the way in, it'll line up real easy. All right, I'll be right there. You all right? Yeah, fine. Okay, once it's lined up, guys, you're just gonna give it a good couple taps with the hammer and hope this A-arm doesn't fall on your nice iPhone that you use to record your vlogs with. You want to make sure you use a rubber hammer. Okay, there she goes. So then you're gonna grab that bolt that we slid in earlier. Once you're lined up, you're not gonna be able to just get this bolt in real easy. I mean, unless you're perfectly aligned. So you're gonna have to wiggle the A-arm and push the bolt at the same time. Hey guys, so once you have your clamp bushing installed and your A-arm mounting bolt and nut bushing installed, we're gonna turn to the ball joint, okay? This is really easy. One quick note before moving on to that. The A-arm mounting bolt and nut. You're supposed to just tighten it a little bit while the car... you're not supposed to torque this bolt until the car is in its natural sitting position. While the car is jacked up, you can hand tighten it and maybe turn it and make sure that it's seated properly. But if you torque it while the car is in the air, you're going to preload that bushing and the car won't behave naturally. So don't torque that bolt just yet. Just so you guys know, I haven't torqued any of my bolts yet. You have to leave everything loose so that you have enough wiggle room to work with. So now we're moving on to the ball joint. This is really easy. Just make sure that my new A-arm came with a new ball joint nut, but if you're just doing some service and you need to take the A-arm out and put it back in, get your old nut, make sure it's not on this thread, okay, and you're gonna feed this thread up into, you're gonna feed that thread up into the hole that attaches to the spindle. The ball joint is what attaches the A-arm to the spindle. So we're gonna do that now. Okay, I'm gonna put the camera down. Forgive me guys, I'm working by myself right now. I don't have any of my buddies to help me hold the camera. Okay, you wanna be delicate because you don't wanna damage the threads. So when you're feeding it, make sure that the ball joint's at the right angle. You don't wanna be, you know, banging the threads against the metal of the spindle. Make sure it clears the brake dust shield. And once it's up, you're gonna take this nut and you're gonna place it up on top and thread it in. I'll show you from a different angle in a moment. Okay, for reinstalling, in order to get that nut threaded, you have to push the A-arm up and squish the ball joint into the spindle so that you expose the threads. Let's see if I can get a good shot. So that you expose the threads of the ball joint. Okay, there you go. Hey guys, so here I am. I'm just tightening the ball joint. It's really easy. You don't want to over tighten this, guys. It does not take a lot of torque. Just so you know, you're not going to even be able to over tighten it initially. As you turn it, what's going to happen is the self-locking nut is going to get to the part where it starts to self-lock, and it's going to grab those threads of the ball joint. It's going to want to turn the threads in the boot. It's not the end of the world if that happens. I don't like turning threads in boots. You know, I just feel like it's asking for premature wear, but it probably doesn't matter. Once that's tight, I mean, once you've got it on, you're gonna have to put a jack under the A-arm, lift it up so that it seats, and then you're gonna tighten the ball joint nut to whatever specification you're supposed to tighten it to. Okay.